Welcome to Swap School, where we take the mystery out of late model Hemi swaps. If you've ever looked at a Gen 3 Hemi swap and thought, there's no way it should be this complicated, well, you're in the right place. I'm Blake Andermann, and on this podcast, we break down wiring, electronics, tuning, accessories, and everything in between, step by step. This is so real enthusiasts can understand it without the headaches and all the nuances. Swap School is proudly sponsored by Sublime Technologies, the premier source for Gen 3 Hemi swap components, built by people who actually do the swaps. No gatekeeping, no guesswork, just real knowledge. Class is in session. Let's get to swapping. Welcome back to Swap School, and this is Lesson 2, Hemi Swap 101. Now, in this session, we're going to really cover a high-level overview of Hemi swaps and how to avoid it becoming a crazy mess. It's really easy to get inundated with all sorts of decisions to make. And a question we get quite often is, what do I do? Where do I even start? I don't know which engine. I don't know which electrical system to run. I don't know which fuel system to run. I want to do the swap, but I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know where to begin. Well, the answer to that is actually pretty simple. By breaking down the overall project into 6 specific tiers or groups, you're going to be able to focus in, get your selection done, get that step done, and move on to the next. We have to really put the blinders on at one specific time and focus in on something to get it done without all the peripherals just distracting us from what really matters. Internet forums, social media groups, they can all be a wonderful place and a great source for knowledge. They can also be very distracting. And what you'll find is what has worked for someone may or may not work well for you. They may not have a vehicle that's even closely related to yours that you're trying to swap. So their fitment, their configuration, their entire swap project may be completely different from yours, or it may not be feasible for you. They may have more real estate or less real estate than they may have more opportunity to do bolt-ons and other things because of space. Or maybe you can do more than them. So let's take the example of an old vintage A body, a very tight platform, very light, very nimble, very cool, but it does have limitations when compared to, say, someone with a first gen Ram pickup truck. There's a lot more real estate in a Ram pickup truck. So if you're following the guide of someone with an A body and you're a truck guy, they may have had to run an old transmission to clear the transmission tunnel, whereas you don't necessarily have that same problem. So again, keep comparisons to a minimum. Focus in on persons that have really done similar work as you have on a platform that you are swapping so that you can learn and grow from it without as much confusion. Again, the 6 tier approach that we really practice here at Sublime Technologies helps us to zone in on each specific segment, execute, and move on to complete the project. Now let's talk about those 6 specific tiers, the 6 steps to the Hemi swap project. Tier 1, engine and transmission selection. This is the foundation of the entire bolt. What you're putting between the fenders is going to dictate the entire rest of your project. So let's focus in on that. Find what works for you and your platform, your carcass, your donor, your body of a vehicle. Find out what you want to fit and what you're willing to do to make it fit. And that is just going to set you up for success right there. If you have a tight fitting A body or maybe some other really small car, you might not want to cut open the transmission tunnel to fit an 8 speed automatic, or you might. That's completely up to you, but that's a decision that has to be made in tier one. Engine and transmission selection is paramount. Make sure we get that nailed down first because everything else is going to follow. Tier two is where we start to build upon that foundation. Tier two is mounting and oiling. Once we have the engine and transmission physically ready to go into the vehicle, we have to say, well, how are we going to attach it? It can't just float there, right? Mounting is something that you have to take into consideration when it comes to suspension, it comes to steering mechanisms, and it comes to your overall layout for your powertrain. You're going to be looking at different engine mounts. You're going to be looking at oil pan clearances over the steering apparatus, be it a rack and pinion or maybe an old Centerlink system like the old Mopars. You're also going to be looking at oil filter replacement. Do I need a relocation bracket? Do I need a oil filter block off and a relocation kit? That's all going to be covered here in mounting and oiling. Getting the engine physically in the vehicle and secured. That's what this tier is all about. Most swaps really fail here because they don't think about the issues and the logistics of getting the engine into the car. They just purchase the engine, go to swap it in, and they're like, crap, it doesn't fit. Doing a little homework right here. It's going to save you a lot of headache. And once you see that engine sitting between the fenders, the excitement's really going to ramp up. Guaranteed. Tier three is the exhaust system. Real estate is at a minimum. So this is going to really set you up for success down the road, having a good free flowing exhaust that has plenty of clearance for movement and is not near anything that could cause a safety hazard. Tier four, the very next step in the project, is the fuel system. It's very important that we move the fuel system to take place after you have already mounted the engine and have routed the exhaust. And this is because you don't want a very large, cumbersome object such as exhaust fighting or trying to adapt around something that can easily be routed like a fuel line. Letting what they say, the tail wag the dog doesn't make sense. Get your exhaust in first and then run your fuel system safely around all hot components and rotating components that could cause a safety hazard. Basic fuel requirements at a 5.7, 6.1, and even the 6.4 is going to be around 58 and a half sustained psi of pressure at the fuel rail with a return style fuel system that has any additional fuel flow dumping back into a tank. We do recommend an in tank fuel pump. Siphon draw or sump draw pumps are very much a no no in the Hemi swap world. This leads to starvation, it leads to excess noise, and you don't get the same cooling effect as if the fuel pump were in the fuel tank. So let's take that away right now. Fuel system, run it after exhaust, run it safely, and put the pump in the tank. It's the best way to do it. It really is. Tier five, electrical and tuning. This is the brain of the entire Hemi swap system. It's also where a lot of people get overwhelmed. I can't count how many times people have approached us and said, the wiring drives me nuts. I am a mechanical person. I can build an engine with my eyes closed. I can degree in a camshaft. I can do valve train. I can do all those things. Absolutely. No problem. I could physically bolt the powertrain in. No problem. The electrical drives me crazy. And we get it. It can be overwhelming. I think on the later models, one ECM connector has up to 96 available positions. That's a lot of wires to run. And you don't have to. There are plenty options out there when it comes to wiring harnesses, control units or ECUs, and just about any flavor you could imagine. You can go with aftermarket such as Holly Terminator, the Mega Squirt, the Gold Box, EFI source. There's all kinds of venues you can go down. And you can even reuse factory engine control units or ECUs. That's my personal preference. I love utilizing factory components because I think it has the best reliability and the most availability on the open market. Again, that's just my personal preference, but know those options are out there. Any one of those options can be tuned for standalone, they could be tuned for modifications, and they can be adapted to suit your goals. It's just how clever you want to be. Some claim to be easier than others, but we'll really dive into that in a later episode and you'll get your own foundation of understanding. So stick around. We're going to demystify that as well, just as we promised to do with all of these tiers. Tier six, this is really where the rubber hits the road. Before you can crank that engine up, hit the streets, do some shakedown passes, you really need to do all the little bolt on things that make the car movable. We're talking about drive shafts, alternator positioning, what are we doing for power steering? What are we doing for air conditioning if you want? Cooling, those sorts of things. The little knickknacks that are the final steps to getting this vehicle rolling down the road. A caveat or a side tangent to this tier are going to be the little cool things that we like to do, like cruise control, maybe some sort of sport mode, race mode, transmission settings, fancy shifters, or instrumentation like digital gauges, CAN bus gauges, factory gauges. All of those things really fit into this tier six. It's wrapping the pretty bow on the Hemi swap. The six tier system helps builders by taking a complex project and breaking it down into one collection of simple, repeatable, and completable tasks. It's very manageable. Focus on one step at a time, and you're going to hit the finish line, guaranteed. Tier one, engine and transmission. Tier two, mounting and oiling. Tier three, exhaust. Tier four, fuel. Tier five, electrical and tuning. Tier six, accessories and driveline. Tackle one system at a time, and you're almost guaranteed success. I commit that to you. If you can understand these six tiers, then you understand the absolute blueprint for every Gen 3 Hemi swap. It's simple, and we're even going to commit to offering this six tier approach in a flowchart or map, something that you guys can print up, hang in your shops, and check off as you go. Call it a badge of honor, if you will. You complete a task, mark it off the list. This will help keep you motivated and keep you in position to be in that driver's seat before you know it. The number one thing that really kills projects for us car guys is just a lack of motivation from something sitting too long. Don't overwhelm yourself by comparison to others out there and redoing work that you've already done. If you've completed your fuel system and it's functional or should be functional, don't completely tear it apart because you saw a cooler setup online. Get your project running, enjoy the vehicle, avoid killing your motivation for the project. Get the vehicle on the road. And when you want to make improvements, it's a weekend job versus a project killing job. That's just the truth. It really is. I think most of us out there have been in a situation where we've seen our dreams and our project ideas just crumble into rolling away on a flatbed trailer because we couldn't commit, we couldn't finish the project. We lost the motivation, we lost the desire and the drive to get it done. It doesn't have to be that way. Let's take these 6 simple steps, these 6 tiers, compartmentalize the Hemi swap, and get it done. We'll get it accomplished together. If you have any questions on any of these things we've discussed today, please feel free to drop me an email. It's blake@diyhemi.com or blake@sublimeparts.com. Yes, the old email from the old DIY Hemi website still works, still linked together with blake@sublimeparts.com. We want to hear from you guys. We want to know how we can help you get your swap on the road. That's it for today, you all. Class is ended. Class dismissed. Go out and Hemi swap the world.